Welcome to Madison Noteworthy's Weekly Minutes. I'm your host, Brandon Williams, former NFL player, author, speaker, and your success coach. And I know sometimes in our business, there are terms that we don't completely understand, like intellectual property, copyright, or trademark. Well, guess what? Today, we brought in Erin Ogden, who's a very successful attorney and founder of Ogden Glazer, LLC. How you doing today, Erin?
Fabulous. How about you, Brandon?
I'm doing excellent and appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So tell Madison Noteworthy all about these terms that I just used.
Sure. So the first thing is, a lot of times we hear the phrase intellectual property and we nod knowingly, like we know what it means, and then we try and Google it later and find out what it is. And what intellectual property is all of those things in a business that bring value, but that you can't necessarily put your hands on. People are really used to knowing, this is my machine, these are my computers, and even these are my employees. But that doesn't necessarily show the entire value that's in a business. And so you have intellectual property, all of those intangibles, all of those things in a business that bring value, like your brand, like your logos, like all of those things that those employees are creating. That is intellectual property and can bring a lot of value to your business, and we have to figure out ways to identify them, protect them, and hopefully monetize them.
So would you say that's one of the first steps that you need to take in your business is protect them?
I think the first step is identifying them and recognizing what they are, and then looking at your business, the industry, and what your strategic goals are, and figuring out what's the best way to protect them.
So what are some of those industries that you would throw the red flag up and say, hey, you need to make sure you get on top of this?
I think every business has intellectual property, and we have
Right.
to figure out what makes sense. So things like trademarks, every company has a name.
Yeah.
And so we have to look and see, okay, with your name, with your designs and logos, you have this. What do we need to protect them? And sometimes that's just putting a TM on it, claiming common law rights, and saying, this is my mark world, I'm going to be using this, please don't.
Right.
Other times we have to take the step up and do a federal registration with the United States Patent and Trademark Office.
Okay.
And then that's when we start spending the money.
Right.
And that's when you file with the Patent and Trademark Office, go through a whole process proving that you are in fact the owner over this mark for these particular goods or services. And then after the PTO agrees with you, then you can put the Circle R. So when you're looking around and seeing the TM and Circle R, what's the difference? One is saying, I believe this is my trademark,
Right.
and that's it. And everybody can do that right away.
Right.
The other is that here's the Circle R, I've already fought with the Patent and Trademark Office and won,
Right.
and I have rights that are much more expansive than just the TM.
So what is the difference in price? You know, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs know
Yeah.
they want to keep a good tight budget.
Sure, for the TM, it's the price of the ink of printing the TM.
Okay.
Some people do a step further and do a state trademark, and that doesn't get you a whole lot more protection, but it does make you a little more searchable on the state database, and it gives you a piece of paper, so when I come back and ask you later,
Yeah.
when was the date that you first started using this, you don't go, well, it was
Right,
a really
right.
rainy spring, but it had stopped raining, so maybe June.
Right.
And so that's $15 for a state
Gotcha.
trademark.
Gotcha.
Federal is a lot more.
A lot more.
You have a filing fee of usually $225, $275, depending if I can use pre-approved language from the PTO. But the expense usually comes in with attorney's fees.
Okay. So if I'm in the startup tech company, is that the most important industry for me to make sure that I have my protection, even when it comes to raising capital? So if I'm raising capital as a startup, does a investor look at that better?
Usually they don't look at the trademark as much as some of the others, unless one place that it can very, very important is consumer retail, because trademarks gain power by a consumer recognizing it and saying,
Gotcha.
ooh, I know this, I bought this before, I want to buy it again, and I can recognize it's the same thing.
Gotcha.
And so if you're selling to consumers, that can be really important because branding can be really important to consumers, and that's what they latch on to. So if you are a company that's selling directly to consumers, or something like a lifestyle company where everything is wrapped up in that brand, then it can be very, very important. If you are selling to a company that's used to having something being called the T1 3000,
Right.
trademark is a little less important because they aren't putting value into that.
Gotcha. So Erin, I know you talked about the TM and the R, and so if somebody just slaps the TM on their logo, on their brand, is that really protecting it? Can I sleep at night?
Sure. I like to think of the TM as kind of a yield sign, where the circle R is more of a stop sign. The yield sign is telling people, hey, I believe that this is my trademark. I am gaining rights in it. I recognize it as a trademark. And in the territory in which I'm using it, I'm gaining rights.
Right.
And so it's helpful, and it puts a sign up saying, hey,
So
I
it's
know what I'm talking about.
precautionary.
Right. Now, are you still going to have to go through, if God forbid you're actually in litigation, you're going to have to go through the steps of proving that yes, it is actually your mark, where are you gaining those rights, what you're going to do about it. Whereas if you have the federal registration, a lot of that stuff is already presumed, so you go into the fight
Right.
with a much bigger stick.
Gotcha. Okay. In this day and age, everybody's raising capital, right? We're raising venture capital or angel capital. Is it good for a company to try to raise capital, or can they raise capital if they don't have a copyright, trademark, or anything like that?
Certainly. It depends a little bit upon the investor and a lot upon the intellectual property that we're talking about. Copyrights depends a little bit, but usually you can go in and backdate some copyright. Trademark, absolutely you can search. Patents depend a lot on the technology that you're dealing with, because if you have something that it's important that you lock it down, that people aren't able to copy it, and that you're going to be discussing it a lot, different venture capital, it's important to start at least down that path.
Right. So how long does it take usually? Because there's always a stigma around getting a patent. Oh, it can take years to get a patent.
Again, so an attorney's two favorite words are it depends. We will say it a lot. So again, it depends on the industry. So some patents move through a lot faster than others. For example, pharmaceutical patents
Right.
take forever.
Right.
Computer patents take forever if they go through at all. Software patents are really
Wow.
hard right now. Some go through much faster. The last numbers I saw was the average pendency was 30 months.
Wow.
But if you're going in with software or pharmaceutical, I wouldn't bank on the 30 months being your outer goal. You're going to blow past that.
I'm trying to sell in 30 months. Forget the patent.
Well, so that's why it's important to get those applications in.
Yeah.
Because with the application, you do have some rights, and you're
Okay.
able to do the sales. If you start selling something before you put the patent application in, you can be precluded from
Wow.
ever receiving that patent.
Wow.
So that's why if you're in those industries where you're thinking patent is important, it's crucial to
get
go
that paperwork done
go talk to
immediately.
your attorney, make sure it's in there. The U.S. is now a first to file system, and so it's become even more important to get that application in if you believe that patent is an important part of your business. And venture capital will pay attention to that because it's showing that you're thinking about your business. In comparison to patents, copyrights are much faster. You file it, usually you're talking a matter of months, 6 to 7 months before a copyright comes back. Trademarks are a little bit longer. If you put an application in without any problems, it's going to be about 11 months. The Patent Office tried to say 9 months. If you get one in 9 months, you're doing well.
Kudos to you.
Right. If you have problems, it could stretch out a little bit longer.
Okay. Well, there you have it, Noteworthy Nation. It is so important for you to look into trademarks, copyrights, and your intellectual property even before you start selling, even before you start trying to raise capital, so that there won't be any issues when you do start selling and when you do start sitting down with investors that your attorney has to go back and fix. Let's get ahead of these issues and not let them hurt you in the long run. All right, thank you so much, Erin, for your time today.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thanks, Brandon.
Absolutely. Well, if you enjoyed this video and you want to get more information, you can go to our website, MadisonNoteworthy.com. You can connect with us via social media and also subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay connected.